All right, let me check what's live here. All right, we're online on Facebook. We're online on Periscope, waiting for YouTube to go live here. Give us 2 seconds here. Come on, YouTube. Steve, we find out we have nothing to talk about. I have a whole laundry list of shit we used to do when we were kids.
Yes, that's just what will happen when you and I are talking to each other. We'll have nothing to talk about because that's happened. That's totally happened.
Scott, I'm not seeing it on Facebook. Oh, there it is.
It's Facebook. It's online. You
It
got
is
it?
now. Yep.
All right, there
I
we go.
see
All right, we should be live. Hello, everybody. Steven, turn. Why am I hearing an echo? Is that Steve? That's the echo?
I got my headset on.
I know.
I don't hear an echo.
I'm not hearing an
I don't hear
echo.
an echo.
All right, there we go. All
Do
right.
you have a neurosurgeon?
All right, I'm going to start the show right now completely. So, Steve, give me a second. Good evening, everybody. It is Saturday night. It is the Antisocial Club, show number 3, recorded live on Saturday, April 4th, 2020. It is quarantine day 15 here in Chicago. I don't know where it is, where you are, but it's quarantine day 15 here in Chicago. So tonight, this is a social media show only. It's not being recorded for audio. So if you don't hear it now, you're probably not going to hear it unless you get the replay. Ground rules here. We can talk about anything. We don't have to agree, but we have to be respectful. Because a lot of times when we talk about these kind of things, we do not agree. Keep it family friendly. And callers, if you call in, yes, the phone lines are open. You give us a call. You break the rules, I will dump you. And you're coming in hot because Jesse's not man on the phones tonight. So you will be coming in hot. I'm not going to know who's calling or from where. So with that being said, really quickly, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Our support, we are using our established Geocaching podcast channel tonight. But that, obviously, that alone, as you all know, we talk about it every week, costs a lot of money to make, especially with doing tonight. It doubles the double dips. And so we'd appreciate it if you guys could help us any way you can. You can go to our Patreon and join the group of people who are getting all the extra audio, extra video only available on the paywall. You can go to patreon.com. That's patreon.com/the Geocaching Podcast. You can make us a one-time payment if you like. We just got one today. We appreciate it. You can go to and just say, hey, we appreciate this Saturday night show. So we're gonna knuckle up to the bar, throw you some cash. You can just go to paypal.me. That's paypal.me and then / the Geocaching Podcast. Tonight, guys, one of my oldest friends in the world. We've known each other for years, and one of my only friends who has his own Wikipedia page, and B, is actually verified on Twitter. Yes, is my oldest friend. He is the showrunner and the writer of NCIS since 2006. And he is Stephen Drew Binder. Stephen, hello, sir. How are you?
I'm good. I've been better.
You've been better. You're not confident, so that's a good thing.
No. Shit. Oh. Sharp.
Back. There you go.
Yeah.
So,
got that out of my system.
So, Stephen, you are in Hollywood.
Yes.
In Los Angeles.
Adjacent.
You are in Los Angeles.
Yes.
And you are the showrunner of NCIS.
Yes.
You are also a writer, correct? Are you still writing? I know.
Yeah. If you're a producer in television, you're usually also a writer.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so, how's it going in Hollywood? What's going on up there?
It's pretty much shut down like the rest of the world.
Can you tell the story of what you told me that phone call when you got the phone call? Like you were telling me on the phone last week. Are you able to? I know, guys. CBS has kind of tight-lipped him on a lot of stuff, so I don't know.
Just we want to avoid rumors and things like that.
Right.
It's a big decision to have to shut down. I think there's a saying: the show must go on. We've had people show up to work with. I don't know if anyone's seen Breaking Bad when Gus Fring walks out of the scene where the hospital room's blown up and he looks all good on one side and the camera pans around and his face is blown off. We've had people show up to work to keep shooting with that. We just put some makeup over them. So pretty much nothing slows us down. So it was just a big decision. Now it seems like it was perhaps too late of a decision, but like we're all shut down. But when it was happening live, it was a big decision to make. And
right. And you had to make that call, did you know?
Yeah, me and we convened senior staff, so to speak. And you're looking around hoping that someone else will be the one to make that decision, and then you're like, oh, it's me. And then it just happened.
Right.
So am I hearing that my NCIS season is
It's, you know, you never really know how far you're going to get things through. And so I don't want to make any promises for anything, but we definitely, like most of the television seasons, stopped shooting before we planned on shooting. And then there's post-production too, which can be difficult. Although, you know, I wish I had it with me. I wish I prepared better. There was a great photo that's been going around. It's an editor, you know, before the outbreak working by himself in a dark room, and an editor after the outbreak working by himself in a dark room. Scott, you could probably relate to that.
Sure.
As a web designer, home alone by herself. So post-production's been a challenge because it's not set up remotely, but it can work remotely because it's all, you know, ones and zeros.
Right.
So,
okay. So what are you currently doing?
I'm a homeschool teacher for a 7 and 11-year-old. I'm gonna, now that we're on spring break, I'm gonna try and synchronize their schedules so that everything starts at the same time because they're in different classes. I don't know if you've seen who hasn't seen Mrs. Doubtfire, when he's running back and forth that restaurant scene when he's dressing up as Mrs. Doubtfire, and then he's yeah, that's kind of what school's like for me when I've got the kids.
Oh, you're just like, hello.
Yeah, I'm running over, you know, and then I run over and I'm, you know, trying to teach, you know, differential physics to a 7-year-old, and I'm like, oh, like when she had her teeth in at the wrong table. That's kind of what it's been like. You know, I'm thinking about next season.
Right.
I'll leave it at that. I think I'm going to hurt myself.
So you guys had a big, I mean, I will admit, guys, Steve is my oldest friend. I love him like a brother, and I don't watch his show.
And that doesn't hurt.
Okay, I'm glad.
And I watched every single episode of
fan.
NCIS, NCIS LA, and NCIS New Orleans. So,
well, we should go back and show you all the times I tried to ding Scott subtly in a bunch of episodes.
We've talked about it. Yeah,
he's mentioned it, and it's like, you know, I think that might have been before I met him, and or I just went right over my head.
When I was the corpse, well, guys, what Steve does, Steve likes to mess with me. He'll put my website on in the background of a scene, or once I was a corpse. Wasn't I a corpse once?
Yeah, I think back when we could do that.
Yeah, like I was a corpse. The corpse name is Scott Burks, and I got a ton of texts when that happened.
Yeah. That's a total coincidence, though.
Sure.
Any similarity to living or dead is purely coincidental.
Yes,
that was in the early seasons of the show.
He likes to make fun of me on the show. He knows I don't watch it. So yeah. So I lost my train of thought because okay. So I know you can't talk about. Can you talk about what's left? Do you guys have any in the can?
You know, if we have anything we have in the can, we're going to try and finish. Right. And we were fortunate enough to be able to shut down at the end of the shooting of an episode, so we didn't have half a show.
Oh, well, that's good. Okay.
Yeah, which is nice. So it's just a question of, you know, what we'll be able to accomplish in post. Whatever that is, it won't be for lack of effort.
And how many guys, really quickly, phone lines are open, 808-468-7924 if you have a question for Steve. He wrote probably some of your favorite episodes. So
my mother's favorite episodes. For sure. And
so how close were you? Can you tell us how close were you to filming the finale? If you can't say, you could just say I can't say. It's not
but maybe I can't say that I can't say.
Okay.
So then it gets really then I don't know what to say. We were close. Well, you know, we shoot until beginning of May, end of April. So we shut down a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. So month wise, you know, we shut down maybe a month and a half early. So, you know, we had I will say this, where I think we end, or hopefully where we'll be able to end, is a fitting season finale all by itself.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah. It'll be because if left to our own devices, we may have left people in a throwing stuff at the television, and they're not a good time for that right now.
Right.
So
do you shoot episodes sequentially? I understand that you're not going to shoot all the scenes sequentially necessarily, but episodes.
Yeah. We'll shoot the episode sequentially, and at the beginning of the year, we have a little more lead time to shoot out of order if for some reason we need to, like a certain guest star is not available, or a location may dictate how we shoot. But generally, if you start shooting shows out of order, people start getting confused real fast, because it's like, we're doing episode 2. Wait, is it airing 2 or shooting 2? And then, you know, you'd think you'd be able to keep it straight, but like who can keep that straight?
Right.
Exactly.
A question in the chat room, Steve. Was Steve with JAG before NCIS? You were not. You never wrote for JAG. Did you?
I was not. No, I was not. Jag was before my time.
Because the funny part is there is a Stephen Binder in Hollywood.
Yes,
He's
he's
a
my
writer.
friend now.
He's a writer.
He was a director, mostly a director. He did a lot of like musical specials, like he did Elvis's Comeback, and he did the Star Wars special, the 1975 Star Wars
No.
special.
Did he really?
Yeah,
Wow.
he did, and yeah, all kinds of stuff. And I used to get his phone calls all the time, and and then they'd find out I think he was from Chicago, and he used to teach at USC, so I went to USC. So they'd be like, "Yeah, can I talk to Steve Binder? It's TV Guide." I'd be like, "Speaking." Binder, by the way, but I'll answer to Binder. I think he's Binder. And
He's
and
Binder,
then
is he?
and then they'll hear my voice, which sounds like I'm 25 when this started happening. And then they'd say, "It's from USC," and I'm like, "Yeah, I went to USC." And he's like, "From Chicago." I'm like, "I'm from Chicago." Like, Elvis Comeback 68, and I'm like, "You want the other guy?"
Well, do you remember, Steve, when we were kids, the other Scott Burks, the one in Deerfield? Do you remember him?
Yes.
He was a drug dealer.
Yes.
And so-
I was about to say
Oh.
something like that.
He knows. We know each other now. So
The other Scott Burks.
I think I've told you this story, Drew. Tell me if I haven't. Is that like, he actually lived in my house. He owned my house before me. So
That's weird.
So here's a story for anybody who's never heard the story before. So there was a guy. Steve and I grew up in Northbrook, Illinois, where John Hughes filmed all his movies. There was also Deerfield, Illinois, was about 2 suburbs over. There was a Scott Burks in Deerfield. He was a drug dealer. So I would meet people, and I'd go, "Hey, I'm Scott Burks." They go, "Hey." I go, "No, I'm the other one."
No.
Oh.
Right.
And so for years, and then Steve, what happened is I bought the house 627, the house when I was married, the one my ex-wife and I bought. And the mailman walked up to me, he said, "You moved back?" I'm like, "What?" He's like, "You moved back?" I'm like, "No, I've never lived here before." He's like, "That's weird." And so, and then I got a ticket in the city of Chicago for blowing a red light, and they sent it to Scott Burks. He actually moved to Texas,
Did he pay it?
Arizona, and so he got a ticket, and it wasn't me. It wasn't his driver's license number, and so, but because it was the same address, and so he got a hold of me on Facebook, and he's like, "Hey, give me a call." I'm like, "Holy shit, it's Scott!
It's you.
It's me, it's the other me." We'd never met, guys. You have to understand, we never met ever. We'd never met.
Right.
And so he called me up, and we're laughing because of all the times we've been, mixed up for each other. And it turns out, like, yeah, because we lived in the same house, now he was getting my mail, and he kept getting my mail. Like, they kept.
No, they never get that straight.
I started getting his mail. He started getting my mail. Irrelevant of the social security number, the driver's license number, didn't matter. The first one they caught, boom, they sent it. And so,
Yeah, and if you ever get a debt collector coming after him,
never
Right,
got-
right.
they're going to be saying, no, this is an address that we had you at.
Yeah.
It's like my wife has a person with her exact maiden name who lives and grew up in Shreveport, Louisiana, where my wife also grew up and stuff. And we occasionally still get crap from her, and it's like, nope, wrong person.
Yeah, I mean, like, he actually occasionally he'll send me an email going, "Did you do this, or did you get a ticket here?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's mine. Yeah, I'll take care of it." Like, he knows my business.
Are you buddies? Do you guys like hang out now?
No, he lives in Arizona.
No.
Well,
Well,
if you ever to Chicago, come. We got to meet. Like,
Facebook
he's
buddies.
been like he's been my shadow my entire life. So so Stephen, why don't you go through? So your NCIS since 2006. Tell us before 2006.
Well, my first paying job. Do you want the sad story or do you want the happy story? What do you want? The happy story. Oh, I came to LA. Things were great. I got hired on a TV show in 2000. That was my first. I actually came out to school here. I transferred schools in 91, graduated in 93. And then for 7 years, it was just awful. And then
Was it? It was about 7 years.
it was 7 years. Yeah, it was 7 years of writing
Struggled.
for free and struggling. And I made a feature.
You almost gave up.
Okay, were you a short order cook? Were you waiting tables? What were you doing to make bread in the meantime?
I was living on 2 things. One was car accident money from when I was 10.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay.
By the way, I called Scott from the ER, and after I'd been just gravel scrubbed out of my back and just beaten and blood. I mean, I was really bloody and messed up. And I called Scott and I was like, hey, I got hit by a car. And he's like, uh-huh. And then I'm like, I've been catheterized. I didn't use those words, and he was like, uh-huh, I got to go. And he hung up on me and I'm like, because they left me alone in the emergency room. Suddenly everyone was gone. They're working on you and scrubbing, and then they left.
Right.
And lying on the table. I'm like, there's a phone there. I'm going to call Scott. He's like, I got to go. We haven't talked about that. I don't think we've ever talked about it. I just like click. I'm like, wait, I just asked him if I was going to die and no one answered me. And then I called Scott and he's like, I got to go. Like, what did you have to do? You were 10.
I probably didn't understand. I was 10.
Yeah, that's true. I scared you.
So another great. Speaking of a phone call story, I got a phone call story. So my mother died in 1998, and I walked. The doctor walked out and said, "Your mom's she's gone." My whole family's crying, and I'm hugging my dad, hugging my sisters. I walk over to the payphone. I put some money in the phone, and I call Steve. Do you remember that?
And I hung up on him.
I called Drew, and I get his voicemail. And I say something along the line. I wish you'd save that because that would probably be pretty good. Something along the lines of, dude, my mom just died. My mom died. Give me a call back. I don't know when the funeral is. Give me a call back. And Steve calls me back about 3 hours later. And he's like, are you okay? I'm like, no, dude, my mom died. He's like, I got to be honest with you. This is Steve. I got to be honest with you. I didn't know if you were fucking around with me or not. That's what he says. He goes,
Yeah.
But if you were, not okay.
Me and Steve have stories of effing around with each other going back many, 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 many years. And so Steve's like, I didn't know if he's like, I must have played it back 20 times because I didn't. Do you remember this, Steve?
Yeah. I was like, I think I went to a rave and I'm like, boop, Steve, that was awesome. You left your glow sticks in my car. Boop. Hey, it's Scott. My mom died. Call me. Click. And I was like,
yeah. And like, he just like, are you serious? He's like, I'm like, yeah. He's like, okay, I'm on my way home. Yeah. It was like one of those, like, you left it on your message. And I look back, I'm like, I left it on your voicemail that my mom died.
do you remember the next 6 hours of the phone call?
Of our phone call?
Yeah.
We talked for 6 hours?
Yeah. It's like 6 hours till the sun came up.
I have no memory of that phone call. No.
I can tell you the entire phone call. It was, I can't believe my mom died. And I said, I know. And then you'd say, I can't believe it. And I'd say, I know, I can't believe it either. And then you just said that over and over again. That was pretty much
For 6 hours.
That was pretty much 6 hours. Yeah, I remember I remember laying in bed and the sun came up, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna go to sleep.
Yeah, that was a rough.
November.
Yeah, it was November. That's right. And Steve's like, I'm on my way. I'm like, dude, it's Thanksgiving weekend. There's no way you're gonna make it here. He's like, I'm on my way. And you were there. You were there within 12 hours.
As soon as you told me, I thought, I have this new wig. I'm going to put it on and walk through their front door. Do you remember that?
My front door?
Yeah, I walked in with the afro wig. Well, Jufro. It was brown.
With the big Jufro.
Yeah, I walked in with the Jufro.
So anyway, getting back. So Drew, give us your.
Okay, so 7 years of, and also I had a pretty good investment in AOL. Believe it or not.
I think I've told Justin this story. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, in like '93, he made a fortune.
It was
yeah,
not as nearly as much as I could have because everyone in my family's like, you got to sell that. So I'd sell half and then it would go up another 5,000%. They're like, you got to sell it. So I'd sell half. 2000, I got, I've been writing features mostly. And I had a meeting at a television show. My agent's like, hey, I thought it was a general meeting where you just go in and I'd just like to meet you and whatever. So I go to this meeting, I drive out to the Valley and it's the show called The Invisible Man. I watch the pilot. And I'm sitting in the lobby and I'm waiting and the showrunner walks by. It's the guy who runs the show, like the CEO of the show. And he walks by me and he goes, oh yeah, hey, I can't wait to hear your ideas. And he walks away and I was like, my ideas? It turns out it was a pitch meeting, not a general meeting. And if you get a pitch meeting with a showrunner, they want to buy something. No one's meeting with you. There's an empty slot somewhere and they need product and you're here to pitch it. And and I hadn't sold anything ever. And I was like, oh my God, I'm in school. I'm in the dream where I'm in school and I don't have any clothes. Like I'm
You
like,
got to pull the story out of your backside right then and there.
yeah, and I sat there and I was like, okay. He's Invisible Man, you know. I don't know, maybe he's like running a cult and he pretends he has magic powers, or maybe he's taunting a. Like I started coming up with one-liners, which are not stories. And then I go into the room, I hadn't worked in TV at all. I didn't watch TV then. At that point, TV wasn't as cool to me then, and I just stopped watching it in college and after college. And I go in, and there's these three guys there, and I pitched this one-liner out there, and I said, like, you know, maybe they're trying to go Darian's trying to go undercover in a cult, and so he poses as a cult leader, or his partner is the cult leader, and Darian turns invisible, and he levitates stuff, and he makes stuff move to try and get the cult's trust, or something like that. And then the next words out of my mouth are, but I have to be honest with you, that's all I have, because I had no idea that this was going to be a
You
pitch.
actually told them, really?
No, I literally I went like this. The butt was coming out of my mouth, and they all start talking amongst themselves like, oh, wait a minute, you know what we can do? Darian can be and I'm like watching them. and then the next, he goes, you got anything else? And I was like, what if there was a really superstitious diplomat and they faked a haunting to try and scare them into giving to them? And I don't even finish it. And then they start doing it again. They all start talking to themselves like, oh, we could do this, we could do that. And then one more idea. And then they were down there like, well, we really like that cult idea. Why don't you work on that a little more and give us a call? And, you know, we'll see what we can buy that. And I was like, what just happened? I can't believe I was 7 years in film. I just walked in and like, and then they're going to buy something.
Show.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh, the first thing he said was, I pointed to a slot on the wall, and they said, this is yours if you can picture something we like. And then I called them back like 2 days later. I had given them a whole bunch of ideas to buff the idea out, and he said, great, we're going to do it. And I called my agent up, and I was like, I don't know what just happened. He goes, oh, you sold them an episode. And I was in a point where I'm like, look, until I see the money, there's no, you know, I've heard, and he's like, TV's different, man. It's not like that. There's never, if the showrunner wants to buy it, the network never says no. It just doesn't happen. And I was like, no, I don't buy it. And he's like, Steve, congratulations. This is a huge thing. The showrunner wants to do it. They're going to do it. And I will say, it's been 20 years later, and only 2 times have I ever seen a network say no to a showrunner's pitch to them. Once was on NCIS in like season 7. And the second time was on The Invisible Man with my idea. The network said no. And I was like, I knew it. So, and then I ended up coming out. They said, if you have any other ideas, and I came up with like a whole bunch of other ideas, and I faxed it to them or emailed. And then they called me up and they said, we want to hire you on staff.
Wow.
And, you know, that was the beginning of me deciding I was going to quit the business, actually.
The movie business. Oh, that was right before. Yeah, because you were, for the record, Steve was going to go to med school. You were going to be a doctor.
Yeah, Invisible Man didn't work out, and then I was back to where I had been for the last 7 years. It didn't matter at all.
He was studying for a couple of months, 4 or 5 months.
It was like 8 months. I got all the textbooks. And
he just studied the textbooks to take the what's the doctor test?
The MCATs.
MCATs. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was going to take the MCATs.
I did, and I did take them, and then I ended up getting staffed on Tremors,
right?
The series,
TV show, yes.
And at the same time, had gone in to go pitch. A friend of mine who worked at Invisible Man with me asked me if I wanted to come in and pitch Dead Zone, and I went and pitched that. I heard it was a really tough room. The showrunner then, Michael Piller, and someone just asked, yeah, showrunner is usually also has the title executive producer. It used to be executive producer was the showrunner, but then they started giving executive producer credits to everyone, and they had to come up with a new title.
Sure.
Yeah, on top of it. And I this guy called me into Dead Zone to pitch, and I heard it was a really tough room.
Dead Zone, was that Anthony Michael Hall? Was that Dead Zone?
Yeah, that was Michael Hall, and Michael Piller was. I really liked him. He came from Star Trek, so that was exciting to just be in a room with him. And so, you know, and he opened it up. He said everyone can come in and pitch, so it's great. But if you know, that means you're saying no to almost everybody. So my agent's like, it's a really tough room, and I go in and pitch on a Friday, which I always liked because my whole life was passes. But if something went out on a Friday, I had the weekend to be like, maybe something will happen. I had like 2 days to be excited before they said no. So I go pitch Michael Piller, and I pitch him the first idea, and I get to the end of it, and he literally just goes, got anything else? It's like, I guess he's not gonna wait till Monday. And then I pitch him the second idea, and he's like, and I'm like, oh my God, this guy's a tough room here. This is a tough room. And then I pitched him an idea, and he thought it was interesting, but I didn't hear back. And then I got staffed on Tremors, and then they called me from Dead Zone, and they were like, "Yeah, we want to buy your freelance." And suddenly I had 2 jobs at the same time. And then neither of those worked out.
Right.
And then I was unemployed, struggling writer again, and then went in to pitch NCIS. They had fired 35 writers in 2.5 years, and I had been hearing a lot about Don Belisario over the years, that he could be a tough cookie, and he was a tough cookie. And I went in and pitched, and he smoked cigars at the time, so I went into this room to pitch him, and
You walked into a cigar-filled room.
It was just filled with cigar smoke, and I literally.
Steve has like a
Yeah.
air purifier in his apartment. I guarantee it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I guarantee there's an air purifier. There it is.
And I also have some plants there to clear the room. And so I pitched on some stuff. I think in hindsight I can say I had a handle on his what he was trying to do on the show. Mm-hmm. I hope so. Otherwise, I put the wrong guy in charge. But he tore everything apart, and they were working on some stuff similarly already. And then he says, "Go in the other room and come up with a whole new episode based on this one thing I said." And by this point, I can't even see straight. I have such a headache from the cigar smoke. And I go in the other room, and I'm like, I just want to go home. I want to get out of here. He's a scary man, and I can't breathe. And I pitched him an idea that in hindsight, it was very lucky that I landed upon this idea in the 2 hours I was sitting in this conference room, because it just had all the things that he values in an episode of the show. And he said, write the outline. I'm buying the story. If I like it, I like the story, I'm buying it. If I like your outline, I'll let you write the script. If I like the script, I'll put you on staff. And that's what happened. I wrote it, and then I came in, and he said on a Friday, and he said, "Hey, we're putting you on staff. We're prepping your script on Monday." And I was like, "What about all the other writers on staff?" And he was not happy with his entire staff. So we were always. I mean, I was writing. I'll tell you one quick story. I was writing. This wasn't my episode. But normally you have an entire script done at the first day of prep, which starts about 7 business days before the first day of principal photography. Mm-hmm. And you have to people have to start preparing. They have to start getting casting and costumes and wardrobe and props and all these things. If they don't have the script, how can you prepare? So we were on one episode, we were writing stuff like the day before they were shooting it. And it got so bad that I was in a room with 2 other writers, a guy named Chris Silber, who now runs NCIS New Orleans, and David North, who's a co-exec producer on NCIS still. And we were trying to think of this line for David McCallum, who plays Ducky, to say. And I was sort of wanted to do like, from Star Trek, doctor, I'm a doctor, not a bricklayer, whatever McCoy used to always say. So we were trying to just come up with this line to finish the scene where Ducky says, it's an autopsy, not a what? What is it? And we couldn't think of it because we were so burned out. We couldn't think of it. And then I get called to the stages, and I drive up to Valencia. It's a 40-minute drive. I get there, and I'm walking by the stages, and I'm listening to them shoot something now in Autopsy. And I hear David McCallum do his line, and he says, "It's an autopsy, Mr. Palmer, not an oil change." And I'm like, oh. So they finished. They came up with the line. I left. They came up with the line. They faxed it up to the stages, and they started shooting it in that intervening period in the autopsy room. That's how behind we were in season 4.
Wow.
Season 4.
Yeah, that was season 4.
The infamous Chad, can you?
Or season 3.
Chad, can you think of your most favorite NCIS episode?
Oh wow!
I wrote that one.
I think Steve wrote it.
I'm gonna say it's a bit weird one where Mark Harmon Gibbs is back in his sniper mode down somewhere in South America, taking out some. I want to say it was a drug cartel leader.
That was the season finale of season 15, I think, right? Where he gets captured with McGee at the top of the season. Yeah.
Who wrote it?
Yeah.
Wait, which one did you like? The one at the end or the one at the beginning?
I like both of them, to be honest. But, I kind of like lump that together as one whole.
It is a 2-parter, yeah.
Right.
I wrote the. Wait, did I write both? I believe I wrote half of the finale and all of the premiere. And yes, Kuhn and Bud, I do own a patent on a battery. Yeah, no, I did. I co-wrote the finale. Remember, I co-wrote the finale with George Skank and Frank Cardia, who are a writing team of Summer Noun back in the 80s. God, I can never remember the name of their big show. Sorry, Frank George. I can never remember.
Didn't you write? Does Harbin still smack people on the back of the head?
It was Tony DiNozzo that he used to smack in the back.
Right,
of the head.
because Steve got a lot of slack because Steve was the one who actually made him hit himself.
Oh yeah, that was
in
in
the elevator, Chad, where he hits himself. Do you remember?
Yeah.
That? Well,
Yeah, I remember
he wrote that.
That did not land very well on the set. People thought that was going to be silly, and I thought Mark Harmon did. It didn't seem at all silly when you watched it.
Oh no, yeah,
that was the freelance episode that I wrote.
Oh, was it really?
Family Secret. That was he had falsified some evidence a little in a way that Gibbs doesn't normally do. He kills people
right
extrajudicially and illegally, but he will not falsify evidence. So he did it, and then he smacked himself in the back of the head to sort of punish himself.
Somebody said, I liked where the guy was under the floorboards. McGee's place, I think.
Yeah, that was. I think that was Chris Whale. I was able to use that. I may have written it with David North and something about Tim too, where McGee's wife never knew about any of this stuff, and then Jimmy Palmer comes. She finds out that there was someone killed. McGee shoots someone in the apartment, and then Jimmy and McGee doesn't want to tell his wife he shot this person, and Jimmy comes in. It's like, well, it's not like that last bottle we found under the floorboards, and McGee's like,
yep,
yeah.
So Chad, the thing is, I get the goods because Steve called me, I think 2 seasons ago, was the last, and he's like, "You can't say anything to me." He says, "Well, what's her name is coming back." I don't know who it was. Who was it? Who came back?
Ziva.
Did I tell you?
Yeah, you told me. Yeah. Like,
I probably told you because you didn't watch the show.
I don't watch the show. I don't care. Yeah, I'm like, who's that?
Yeah.
It's like you can't say.
Now, there's a few things that kind of irritate me a little bit.
Yes.
So this isn't part of writing, actually. Ziva David, her accent. So I've been to Israel. I spent a lot of time in Israel. It's like she's not from Israel. The first time I heard her, I think it was like season 3 when she came on, and it's like I had to Google figure out who is this person because she's definitely not Israeli.
Well, I'll give you. She's from Miami. I'll give you one more. Generally, armed federal agencies don't hire foreign nationals, much less Mossad agents.
There's lots of inconsistencies there and other things that I have to suspend disbelief in order to watch a lot of things. Trust me.
Yes. It was What Lies Above, by the way. That was the mummy on the floor. That was season 14.
Okay.
That was a great episode. Yeah. So the accent that was right before I got there. So I'm not going to take any responsibility for that whatsoever. But I will say her father was sort of an international figure, so you never really know where she, had those formative accent forming years.
True.
Might not have been in Israel.
Yeah,
but you would think if she was a Mossad agent,
she could do any accent.
True. Okay.
So that's I had actually toyed with in one episode doing where that she actually the whole malaprops, how she'll well, I can't think of one right now. Easy as pie. She'd say easy as cake and stuff like that. I was actually going to reveal that she had been doing that all along as a fake to make people think she wasn't as good with the language as she actually was. That was going to be a reveal. I toyed with that. I never ended up doing it, but thought it might be cute.
You still may.
Yeah.
Is she gone back? Is she back being gone now?
She's back being gone, I think.
Yes.
Yes.
At least the last episode that I've watched that she was on, she was basically going back into, I don't want to say hiding, but more or less hiding.
Yes. And by the way, I'm looking at Kuhn and Bud's talking about David McCallum. What an acting career! Yeah, we've done publicity a lot of times, and he gets the biggest standing ovations. He's just such a piece of history. He was The Great Escape, to Ilya Kuryakin from The Man from U.N.C.L.E. to, being an integral fixture of one of the biggest shows in the world. Like, this guy is it's just very exciting to be standing next to him sometimes. And maybe I'm saying that just because he seems to like me a lot too. So
There's a question for you.
Well, he has some of the best lines on the show. So
he does, and because he has such a unique voice too. You can't give his lines to anybody else, and you can't give anybody else's lines to him. Question, sorry.
There's a question for you. It's on the screen right now.
Which one?
Right in front of you. No, it's on. Look at the video.
Oh, right. How do you like Wilmer Valderrama? He's great. He's fun. He's a new toy to play with, so we're still trying to figure out exactly who he is and what he does and what the deep dark secret is. And
do you know what it is?
No. No. I got a couple.
There's no plan in place. Like, okay, we're here and we need to get here, and this is how we're going to get here.
One of the things that I wanted, I watched what the show, how it was run or not run for years and years and years. And one of the things that sticks in my mind, Scott, you probably read this book in English at the same time. It was Dandelion Wine. Sure. And it was, grandma was a great cook. And she couldn't see, and her mixing cups were all broken and old. So they got her glasses, and they got her all these proper mixing cups, and everyone sat down at the dinner, and it was going to be what could she do when she was blind with broken cups? What's she going to do now? And they had the dinner, and the dinner was awful. So they took her glasses away, and they broke all her mixing cups again. One of the things that my nature is to get ahead of everything, is to get ahead of the curve and get really right far ahead. But on NCIS, I don't think that's the way we've been doing it, and it's not the way we've been doing it. I don't think it behooves us to do that. We let things gestate, and we think about general ideas, but we don't want to over-engineer what we're doing, because then you can't see where the day takes you. And if we can figure something out 20 steps down the road, someone else might be able to also. And Chad, you mentioned the Paraguay episode where they get, Gibbs and McGee get caught by hundreds of guys. Mm-hmm. We ended that with there was no plan on how it was going to. And we had some talk about that. Should we have a plan? And I was pushing for, let's not have a plan. Let's come up with the worst possible thing we can think of. And then we'll just have to be that much more clever on the B side.
Right. And me as a audience member, I'm sitting like, how in the hell are they going to get out of this? I know they're going to get out of this, but how in the hell are they going to get out of this? Well, at least certain characters would definitely get out of this. I mean, yes. NCIS isn't above killing off characters. Kate was killed off, I think, in season 2.
We've killed them all.
Yeah.
Everybody.
You've killed them all?
We just killed Dwayne Henry, who played Reeves. Although, did we see his body? I'm trying to remember. I don't know.
I don't think I saw his body.
I think he got blown up off screen. So this isn't any secret showrunner stuff. I just, as a TV viewer, if I don't see the body.
Right, never seen it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, what about, how much stuff do you pitch or write that doesn't make it, that they go, no?
Well, they would be me. So I never say no to myself.
All right. For example, let's put it this way. Give us, if you can, Tommy, the wildest stuff you've been pitched that you've turned down for this show. Where you're like, no.
We have staff writers, so everyone who comes in and when they're pitching stories, they generally know how to pick up the femur in the game of operation. They know. I cut myself, by the way.
With the femur?
No, playing a game of operation with real knives. Yeah, the craziest thing, we had some writer pitch us a story involving a pommel horse, and we still talk about that. Pommel horse, fish out of water, big chase, slice of life, pommel horse. Like, what? To this day, I still don't know what the pommel horse story was, but it involved the pommel horse, and I don't know what you do with that. On the other hand, if you tell someone, our last showrunner, who unfortunately passed away, Gary Glassberg, he liked to do that a lot with me. He'd come in, he'd give me an idea, and he'd be like, I want to do something where Ducky's lonely. And he has a conversation with someone where they're lonely. And I was like, okay, do you have anything else? And he's like, nope. I'm like, okay, let me think about that. And sometimes that's, for me at least, that makes you start thinking and start growing these, it's like I called the V'ger phenomenon. V'ger was just this little teeny from Star Trek, which is everything Star Trek to me. V'ger was this little teeny probe, and what do you do with that? Well, it ended up becoming this thing that was bigger than the solar system of, you have to work extra hard when you don't have a whole lot to start with.
Who wrote that line?
Me just now.
No, this line.
Trademark. Which line?
On the screen.
I believe that was, I'm pretty sure Don Belisario wrote that line, even though that was not a Don Belisario script, because only the showrunner could get away writing a line like that.
What is it? Who does he look like? Answer.
Ilya Kuryakin was who David McCallum played in The Man from U.N.C.L.E. He was the Russian spy, so he looks like Ilya Kuryakin.
Another one for you.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I was sad to see the neighbor boy leave so soon. He was looking forward to seeing the relationship grow between him and Gibbs.
Yeah.
Yes, unfortunately, Gibbs killed his mother, so they weren't going to hang out so much after that. We had planted this. We had so I'll give you one plan. It's the whole Ziva arc, which the 5 episodes she was in, including the end of the season finale where Gibbs was talking to his dead ex-wife. That was planned out. We had her whole story planned out, what that was going to be. And then Gina Monreal called me into her office to give me a pitch about something else. And she starts pulling apart all the stuff that we had worked on for months and months and months. And inside I'm going, I'm not going to say no outside yet, but no, we're not. No. And then what I realized what she was building to was the idea that this neighbor boy's mother was actually the big bad guy, and that she was moving next door to Gibbs. And the big reveal is that Gibbs is going to have to kill her mother. And then I was like, yes, let's throw everything away. And that's what ended up happening. Yeah. So,
Really?
So Ziva, Scott doesn't watch the show. So Ziva's being chased by this woman, Sahar. And at the end of episode 2, Into the Light, which I think I wrote that one. Ziva kills Sahar, but she has to go do one more thing. At the same time, we introduce this little boy living next door to Gibbs, who's got this mom, who's this harried worker at a like a Waffle House or something, with a British accent. Which we were like, is that going to work? Can you have a British accent and work at a Waffle House? Does that, we didn't know. It just didn't seem like it was going to work. And then the big reveal is that this big bad woman, Sahar, that was just a decoy. And the real Sahar is this little boy's mother, who's now moved into Gibbs, next door to Gibbs, looking for Ziva. So the misdirect for the audience was that, we're bringing a little buddy for Gibbs. And no, we were just setting it up so that Gibbs had to kill.
I was fooled.
Mother. Yeah. And, Chad, the other thing, too, that we were trying to go back is when Ziva pulled the trigger for Gibbs back in season 3, if you recall, when she killed her brother, Ari, that was not an easy trigger pull. So when Gibbs was going to pull the trigger for Ziva, we wanted to set it up so that it wasn't an easy trigger pull for him.
Right. Okay.
That was the thinking behind that it had to cost him the way it cost Ziva.
Right.
That was the plan. We wanted to make you feel as badly as we could about it.
Did it work?
I talked to Chad.
I didn't catch the interplay, but it did pull on my heartstrings when he had to kill her. You could tell that he's sitting there struggling about it, but he's gonna do it. So,
and then he's got to go tell the kid.
And then he has to tell the kid.
Wheels has asked if any actors have directed an episode. Rocky Carroll I believe he directed 3 last year. He directed a whole bunch. He's directed maybe 10 episodes. He plays Director Vance. And our DP, William Webb, has directed some episodes. He just directed Sound Off, about a woman who loses her hearing and tries to cover it up, written by Lisa DiTrolio, who was our office PA. Gosh, I know Mark Harmon has flirted with it.
I was saying, Mr. Shoop's never directed an episode.
He's flirted with it. He was going to, but it's a lot. It's a lot, and he's in it a lot.
Have you ever gone up to Mark and said, "Hey, Mr. Shoop"?
Uh,
I would just
I-
call him Mr. Shoop.
I think for the first 6 years, probably. Every time I would sit next to him, he'd be like, "Hey, Stevie," I'd be like, "Mr. Shoop." Hey, Mark. Yeah, no.
I had the summer school reference in old 80s movies that Steve and I saw together many years ago.
Oh yeah, no, that's what everyone. He's Mr. Shoop. He's very handsome.
Next question, Drew.
So that was the one where he was a summer school teacher and takes him to the
Yes.
amusement park. Okay.
Yes. I will say this about the boat in the basement. We're getting asked about that. You can Google it. You can see how people do that. One of the
Which
things
one?
Uh,
The question is which boat? I mean, he's made probably a
that's true.
dozen.
I will give you this teaser at some point. One of the things I like to do, I've done some flashback episodes. Chad, I don't know if you ever saw any of the Young Ducky episodes where we had the younger Ducky played by Adam Campbell, who looks just like Young Ducky did. That, by the way, those Ducky episodes was where the Ducky's sad and lonely came out of. I ended up writing ended up going into his past and having him fall in love with a woman and have this unrequited love. And then we find out that he hates bow ties, and he's just been wearing bow ties all this time because he's been pining for this woman that he lost 50 years ago. I want to do something with the boats too. I like taking what is a part of the show and revealing that it actually comes from a completely different place than you've ever expected. I think I'm going to do that with the boat also.
Okay.
That's something to look forward to.
That's my plan. It'll have a meaning beyond which we think it does.
So many guest stars, Drew. Who's your favorite and why?
Well, I think 7 of 9. If I haven't
Jerry Ryan.
If I haven't tipped my hand there. And she played one of Gibbs' ex-wives. I wrote that episode, and she was so good, and she was so funny, and she was so fun sitting next to her on the set that I couldn't even be anywhere near her because I had already fallen in love with her once and came to terms with it. She and I broke up. It just wasn't going to work out, mostly because we never met each other. And then there she is again. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to fall in love with her all over again. I have to get away from this person.
Yeah, many a male Trekkie has fallen in love with 7 of 9.
Yeah, but that was that character, which wasn't real. I was talking to the real person. I'm like, she's so funny.
Oh yeah,
she's so funny.
He'd love to send me pictures of people he's meeting and all.
I got some great photos. I'm pretty excited about.
What about Pam Dauber? You ever met her?
Yeah, I usually see her at rap parties.
Do you not go Mindy? How do you not go Mindy on her?
Yeah, Mark and Mindy.
Mark.
I still want to move to Boulder, like because of that TV show.
you got to get that colorful jacket.
I will say this: all these things, Mr. Shoop and Mindy and stuff like that, that all maybe lasted like 10 years. But now we're on year 18. Like I don't even know my name, much less, any other name of any other characters on any other show, or even if I even know how to write another show at this point. It's been a long time.
Do you watch the show? Do you watch the show?
Yeah.
You don't have to. Hey, man.
I do. I do have to. I do.
It's in constant replay on like USA.
Oh, you mean do I watch it and rerun?
Like, I'm sure. Do you watch it in rerun?
Last year I sat down.
If you see one of your episodes on, do you stop and watch it?
I had a friend who got a library of them, and I started watching one of my episodes from season 5. It was Murder 2.0, and I was watching it, and I was like, "Oh my God, this episode's actually not that bad." I remember hating it this isn't how I wanted it, and I just so compromising left and right. And then I watched them like, this turned out really well. I maybe can understand why people like this show. But I'll watch a cut. I'll watch the director's cut. Then the writers will get a cut. I'll watch that. I'll take a stab at it. Or lately, Frank Curdia, my co-showrunner, will take a stab at that cut. I'll watch that. I'll give notes on that. And then we have a spotting session, and I'll watch it again in spotting session. And then they'll go off and they'll mix it. And then I watch the final mix and give notes on that also. And then when they put the visual effects in, I'll watch it one more time. So I know someone commented, I think someone commented, what a memory. I used to have a good memory. I don't anymore. I just seen each episode like 9 times before it airs.
Someone says, I like the recent episodes where they brought back JAG characters.
Especially what's her name?
Well, not on us. I know one of the other NCIS is brought by Catherine Bell, I think, didn't they?
So Catherine Bell was the
Mac or Harm.
Mac.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Was that a different NCIS? Was that not yours?
Yeah, it's confusing. The show that NCIS spin off of was a spinoff of the main character was named Harm.
I remember Steve called me one day, Chad, and he's like, "Dude, I'm sitting in a boardroom and Ice-T is in here with me."
Or no, was
No,
it Ice-T?
Who
Or
was
LL
it?
Cool J?
Who's the
Was
guy?
it Todd?
What?
Was it LL Cool J?
LL
Yeah,
Cool J.
LL Cool
Sorry,
J,
he's
yeah.
like LL Cool J, like right next to me.
Yeah.
LL Cool J can actually
So
act.
surreal, it's ridiculous.
I'm sorry, I've never seen anything with Ice-T in it where I thought he could act. So LL Cool J, when I first saw it, I was like, oh god, another rapper trying to act, and then he actually turned out to be a pretty decent actor.
I remember seeing him in the Shark movie. He was the cook. He was fun. in that.
Yes.
He
Yeah.
was in
Yeah,
that.
Steve meeting where they pitched, not pitched, but they were like getting set to do the was it Los Angeles? Is that the one to do? Which one?
Yes.
Yeah, and he's like, they're spinning us off. Here we go.
Yeah, and like that was the new show, and they're in like season 12 or something like
yeah,
that.
I know.
I
That was a
can't
long
even.
time ago. It was just remember you calling me and be like, dude, LL Cool J.
Yes, Chef. I have seen Quantum Leap, of course. We all and Tales of the Gold Monkey, Magnum PI. That was like that's what would happen on the show. You'd be like Ilya Kuryakin, Mr. Shoop, Magnum PI. Like that's all.
Yep.
It was all very exciting because those were their formative shows.
And so people are asking how many more seasons, Steve? Is for Steve or for the show in general? Is the more important?
I think as long as Mark Harmon wants to do it, I think we keep running, and we may keep going, even if I don't know. You guys,
Are you guys still number one? You were.
yeah. The whole industry's had a big drop. We premiered 10% below the episode we had Cody in, which we thought we'd get a bump, and we premiered 11% below our previous premiere, and we were like, oh, and then we saw everyone else was like 30% down, and we were like, oh, okay. It's like two guys see a bear, and one of them says, look, there's a bear, let's run. The guy's like, we can't outrun a bear, and the guy's like, no, I just need to outrun you. So we outran everybody else, so that was good enough for me.
When Shoop decides it's over, it's over.
Everyone on this live comments would know better than me. I would have thought when we lost Michael Weatherly, we'd be in trouble, or when we lost Paulie Perrette, we'd be in trouble, and when we lost Cody, we'd be in trouble, and we're losing everybody, and we don't seem to be in any trouble. So my self-hating writer, neurotic, dude brain won't let me think like maybe people like the writing.
Well, like Casey isn't 100% replacement for Abby's character, Polly Perrette's character. She's doing a great job at it.
Fantastic. No, I think that's part of it is she held up that tent pole.
Right. I think Ellie's doing I can't remember the actress's name who plays Ellie, but she's doing a good job. Did they initially use the term probie with her for a little bit, but it seems like that kind of like it went away very quickly.
I want to say there's no way we didn't say it. There's no way we didn't use that.
Right. It was kind of like a light punch in there, but it wasn't like Tony DiNozzo with Timothy McGee for the first several seasons. So McGee came in, I think, the second season.
Yeah.
And
he was a regular by the second season, but he was starting to come in, I think, by like episode 8 or 9 of the first season.
Okay. So but it's still, every once in a while a probie dig got tossed in there all the way up until I don't know when it stopped.
It stopped when Sean was like, "Hey guys, I've been on the show for 12 years. Okay, probably things getting old."
Okay.
Not quite. A lot of one of the things our actors are great about is, they take their characters seriously and they make sure they safeguard them. And Sean, I believe, brought to our attention, and there's nothing a writer wants to hear worse. This is the worst thing you could hear, which is like, "It's getting old, dude."
Right.
And it was just getting old.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. So,
So if
Oh, and occasionally there's something. Well, this last episode, which was the one where they were Casey and Jimmy were at the diner and a bank robbery, or not bank robbery, diamond heist occurs across the street there.
Right.
There is a line that was said 4 times. Let me see.
Impressive.
Huh?
That's commitment.
That's commitment.
Yeah.
Yeah, first time I heard it, I was like, yeah. Second time I heard it, I was like, okay, why did they use that again? Third, fourth, it's like, oh my god,
So
who put that in there?
So Scott Williams wrote that episode, and he had a different line. He had the same repetition, and I suggested. And one of the things that changed was you saw that they were doing something with a condom. They steal. There's a diamond heist, and the diamond thieves put diamonds in a condom, and then you see them store it somewhere in their body.
Yes.
And initially, you weren't going to see where it was. You were just going to see someone watching on the screen of the security footage, going, "Well, that's commitment," and leaving you to think like, "Did they shove it up there?"
Right.
And then each time,
Oh yeah, and that was my first reaction. Is like, okay, where did it go?
except I'm glad, because you actually end up seeing that they're swallowing it.
Later when you got a shot of them actually swallowing it from a security camera.
And geocaching with GSMX2 is right. It's commitment swallowing a condom, but it seemed like leaving that to your imagination and then having everyone just be like, "Hey, that's commitment," and then you're like, "What are they doing with that thing?" And that's also a personal taste thing of mine. So I don't blame Scott Williams for that repetition. It was I put it in there, but I was not happy with the way it ended up getting executed. Also, but you can't win them all. But I like mystery. I like not showing things and letting people imagine what's happening.
That was a good ending on that one too. So I was pleasantly surprised at how that ended.
And it also could have been the end of the season too, but it ended up not being. Miguel was in Just in the LA spinoff, although I would have loved to work with him because he was awesome in pretty much everything he's done, but especially RoboCop.
Oh, one of the old favorites right there, RoboCop. Yes.
Oh yeah, we should. That's one of the fun things about NCIS is you get to like meet these actors who were in these. We just had Mike Farrell, who was in MASH, be in an episode, and that was. That was a photo I was excited to get, although I wish he had buttoned his shirt up. But go ahead. I was going to say I have a great trick, which I don't know that I should broadcast here, on how I get pictures with these people, because it's awkward. Even when you're the one who hired them, it's still awkward.
Even when you're marking out too, when you're a big mark, you're like, ah.
Yeah, you're trying to keep be cool, Steve, oh, hello, Mr. Lloyd, I love your picture.
Steve calls me on the phone. He's like, I got to meet Christopher Lloyd next week. I'm so scared.
And my trick didn't work because someone interrupted us, and I'm like, oh my god. So my trick is I'll kind of sidle up next to them. They're watching the set. I'll just say a few words. If I haven't met them already, I'll introduce. Hey, Steve, I'm one of the showrunners, and then I'll say something like, hey, I hope the crew's not bothering you trying to get photos and stuff. And they're always like, no. And I'm like, that's great. Would you mind, Bob? Can you come in here? We're gonna do every time. I've got like 80 photos like that.
Wow.
I tried that with Christopher Lloyd, and he was like, yeah, sure, no problem. And then they called him away to set, and I'm like, oh fuck, I can't do.
That's all right.
That's how I felt. I'm like, I can't do that again. And then I finally just bum rushed him on the set and was like, I got to take a photo with you. And it's not a great photo of me, but
of you and Chris Lloyd.
He looks like Christopher Lloyd.
So Steve has wanted to be a director since we were kids. Literally since as far as back as I can remember, you've wanted to be a director and a writer of movies. Oh,
that's my kid going. Sorry, guys. It's Christopher Lloyd. He's excited. He gets me excited.
And so I met Steve, like I said, in second grade. And the way we met is I had just transferred a year before from a different school. And me and Steve, do you remember second grade, how we met? I'll ask you.
I do actually remember meeting you in the hall in first grade, but you forgot that. So I only came into your consciousness in second grade.
Second grade. That's when but second is when we became friends.
We were not in class together in first grade. You were in I think you were in Mrs. Bjorkman's class.
No, Mrs. Borelli's class.
Oh, I was in Bjorkman's class. You were in Borelli, right?
Yeah. And so second grade, me and Steve, and do you remember meeting me? Do you remember how we met? Why we met?
Our lockers were next to each other.
No, not them lockers. We were in second grade.
Our diaper changing station.
It was a the 4 block of desks.
Yes.
We were in the same. Yes. Do you remember the other 2 people in that block, Drew?
It was someone else with a B. It was Eileen Bloom.
No.
Okay. No, I don't know.
Bobby Battler.
That makes sense.
And I don't remember the other one because I was thinking it was Dave Casper, but you might be right with Bloom. You might be right with Eileen. I thought it was Dave Casper. Now.
I think it was Eileen. I thought it was Eileen Bloom.
You might be right on Eileen Bloom.
So you're alphabetized in the classroom?
Yeah, so Steve and I became fast friends, Chad, and we hang out all the time. We even did like the '80s motif where like we actually had walkie talkies at each other's houses, and we didn't do that like the '80s trope in movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so we get to third grade and we're put in class together, and we just raised havoc, Chad. Chad,
they had to separate you two.
No, let me tell you a story. Me and Steve used to sneak out of school in third grade.
We were 8.
We were 8 years old. We would sneak. You could never do that today.
And we weren't bad kids.
No, we were good kids. We would sneak out of school. We would walk back because Steve was a latchkey kid. So we would walk home to Steve's house.
My mom denies that, by the way.
Which, meanwhile, we would walk back to Steve's house, and on the way to Steve's house, we had to cross maybe a ravine. So we would Tarzan over the ravine. Remember that, Drew? On the weeping willow tree every day.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and then we'd go to Steve's house and we eat bad food at his house because Steve's mom was a health nut. So
we eat the healthy food. Right, we eat healthy food.
And mess around. So meanwhile, we got in so much trouble in third grade that up from third grade, Chad, until second semester of senior year, we did not have another class together, nor anywhere near each other. And so,
no, we were in homeroom, Miss Cosmos. We had communications with Miss Cosmos.
I never had Miss Cosmos.
Don't you remember? You went like this in class. You're gonna remember it as soon as I do it. You went like,
I remember that, but that wasn't homeroom.
I don't know if it was homeroom, but I still remember. It was one of my greatest laughs of my life.
In fifth grade, Steve actually, what we would do is our classrooms were next to each other, but we had one of those sliding doors, and the two the pencil sharpeners were right next to each other. So we would do at certain times go to the pencil sharpener and swap notes back and forth to each other and stuff like that. And so meanwhile, until senior year, we didn't have a class. And so finally, when we were in our 20s, me and Steve went back to our elementary school to meet Mr. Rossi, our principal. And me and Steve said to Mr. Rossi, "Did you put something in our
file
to say
keep these two idiots apart?
We can't be together?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I totally did that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally did that. Yeah,
of course I did. You couldn't stop us, Rossi."
And never again. But I'm like, we're still friends, but like we never had class. I mean, the next class we had together, I think, was that directing class senior year, that writing and that movie class we did.
Com art.
Yeah,
or mass media.
Yeah, mass media. We had to make movies, which is what we made movies all semester. It was great.
With Mr. Church.
With Mr. Church, yeah.
And I guess it was only one class, so everyone that was taking it had to be there in that one class.
It was elective, so they couldn't stop us.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it was an elective, but it was only one time during a day where the class was.
Yeah, that was the only class we ever had. Yeah, that was they couldn't separate you there. No. But that's it. Other than that, we
wow.
didn't have anything. Yeah, it's pretty amazing how long it went for. That no, I mean, remember sixth grade? We were like opposite ends. Like you were 6A and 6B, and like.
I don't know that I put that together till we were sitting in Mr. Rossi's office.
And we got thrown out of sex ed together. Remember that, Drew?
Oh yeah,
Jeez.
Yeah. My God,
yeah.
I can imagine Scott in there.
Now I'll tell you why. Because the teacher, you remember what the teacher said, Drew?
Now we're going to talk about the emotional side of sex.
And Steve goes, And that's it.
We were done.
I lost it, and she's like, "You out."
Out. Out. And I remember I was like, we know this stuff already, okay? We already know this. And she's like, what are fallopian tubes? And I was like, what? Huh? I didn't know. Turns out I did know everything about it.
Steve used to love to pop me in school and like make me laugh as much as he could. Yeah.
I still, it's my one of my favorites. I don't know if you remember this, Scott. We were sitting in a McDonald's, and I noticed all these ants.
Oh, the ants on the wall?
I noticed all these ants crawling all over the place. So he goes to the bathroom, and I take little pieces of paper and I fill his straw up with little pieces of paper. And he sits down, and I'm waiting right for. By the way, I do this to people all the time now with this technique I've honed on you. I'm waiting for right the moment, and I say to him, "Go, God, look at all." As soon as he puts the straw to his mouth, I go, "Look at all these ants all over the wall." And he looks at the ants, and he goes, and I go, "Look at all these ants all over the wall. I hope they didn't get in our food." And he goes, and just blows it over everybody, including me. So the joke was on me.
Wow, great misdirect.
I do that. I do that all the time. If I feel like I'm going to punch someone's ticket, I will sit there and wait for that water to drink to hit their mouth, and then I'll just bam it.
I forgot about that one. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, absolutely. I remember that. Yeah.
Do you remember when you wouldn't put your seatbelt on, so I locked the brakes up and you smashed your face into the?
Yeah, we'll
Thanks
see
for
if
the
you'll put
idea.
your brakes on.
So the best part was he goes, I said, put your seatbelt on. He's like, I'm not wearing a seatbelt. I said, put your seatbelt on. We get into it. He goes, I'm not wearing a seatbelt. I blocked the brakes up. He goes, cracks his head so hard, and when he comes up, he's laughing. He's already laughing. Blood. He's broken his nose. He's already laughing because he appreciates the joke.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. We would drive stick on his mom's old Jeep. That's how I learned. Remember me and you driving down Willow Road.
Yeah, that's where it was.
Yeah.
It's a Jeep.
Stick.
I've already been thinking all day about a geocaching episode already.
Have you?
Yeah.
So, okay, one more. So we must have been in junior high. And I just remember this one too. Do you remember the time we were dipping in your sister's car? Chewing tobacco in your sister's car? Remember that one? And she kept trying to talk to us, and we couldn't spit, so we were holding the spit in our mouths, and we were trying to talk to us.
Oh no!
No, we were probably 14, 15 years old.
Don't try this at home.
So hold on, this is another story though. So we are at Steve's dad's house, which was always a treat because it smelled like bongs and incense, and we're in the garage. Steve, do you know where I'm going with this?
But it's not what you think. It's only because they were smoking pot all the time and burning incense.
Do you know where we're going? Do you know where I'm going with this? You remember this without me even going further?
No. What could we have found in that garage?
So me and Steve are probably about 10 feet away from each other. And
Is this when I shot you in the face with?
Steve goes, "Hey, look, mace!" And he brings it at me 10 feet away and gets me right here.
All right, I have a slightly different memory of this.
Really?
Yes, I remember being in my brother's bedroom.
No, we were in the garage.
Where he had knocked down the wall and it was really wide. And I said, "Hey, look, mace." And I was looking at it and I hit the button and it shut off that way and hit you right here.
Oh, I'm sorry. That matters.
No, that's where I keep saying to people, I'm like, look, you don't need to hit someone in the eye for this stuff to work. I've seen it. I hit someone in the cheek and he went down like he had been hit by
like a sack of potatoes. I'm like a sack of potatoes.
And I went, "Oh, come on." I was like, "Oh, come on. Look, how much can it hurt?" And I went like this to myself. And then I was like, "Oh!"
Oh, wow.
You repackage this memory slightly differently.
Oh God, yeah, I know. I thought we were in the garage.
I felt like it was my brother's room. Which, by the way, you are not incorrect by thinking it looked like a garage.
Oh, maybe that's
It was a big long. He had torn down the wall, and it was this big long thing filled with garage-like boxes of stuff.
Oh God.
I thought you were going to tell the time I posed as a stamp collector super fan of yours.
Oh God, that was so long ago.
Yeah.
Well, so hold on. So one more story. So me and Drew, when we were in the early 90s, Steve was living in LA. He just got into LA. And we've always messed with each other our entire lives. And we started messing with each other via the postal system. Remember this, Drew?
I'm not admitting anything. That sounds like a felony to me.
Yeah,
what
you're
we
messing
would
with the
do-
federal government here.
What we would do, guys, is
Hang on, I'm going to Google statute of limitations while you
I
tell
think
this.
we're good. It's been like 20, almost 30 years. I think we're all right. So what
Okay.
we would do is back in the day before the internet, kids, they had something called COD, which would be a cash on delivery. And so you could
5 years. We're good.
you could order something on the over the phone and have it delivered COD. Well, that's all we needed to hear, And then immediately Drew and I started doing this to each other constantly, sending each other stuff COD. And
Ginsu
one-
knives.
my mother was so happy when those knives came. Remember, I think she sent you a
Yeah, you said she bought them.
she got-
She paid for them.
she was so excited when the knives came. And so finally, I'm like, all right, I'm getting, because at the time I worked at a pharmacy. So I'm like, I'm getting Steve back. And I knew Steve was out of town. I think you were overseas.
And if it was in 2000, I might have been in India for some
This
reason.
is the 90s. This is like 92.
Oh yeah, I went backpacking across Europe in the 90s.
So I worked at a pharmacy. So I went to the magazine section and I ripped out every single thing out of the middle of a magazine and spent the entire working day writing Steve's address. And it was a free mail thing too. So I took a stack like this into the mailbox. They went. Steve came home and called me immediately as he got home. He goes, dude, there was so much crap in my mail and the mailman. I'm like, hey man, you want to, mess with the bowl kind of thing.
I feel like I got my own mess with the bull one. I gotta do the stamp collector thing.
All right, do the stamp collector thing. Let's tell that.
So Scott had a online journal, which now is called blogging, I guess.
Right.
You were one of the early bloggers, and he had people who,
Let's say this is like mid-90s.
yeah, mid 90s. And so I created a fake back then AOL profile
Yeah.
of some old guy, some 50-year-old. So now like a year older, a year older than we are now.
Yeah, you basically.
Some like super old, weird stamp collector guy who was obsessed with Scott and was writing him constantly.
Yep.
And Scott had this thing where if you answered all these questions about his life over the years of the blog, you got a hat. So I'm like, oh, I'll be able to do this. I don't need to. So I answer all but I got one wrong. And I had the guy would like write Scott and get like angry and mean. And Scott he was so good. He'd try and calm him down. He'd be like, hey, it's okay. So you missed one. Try next time. I just did 2 years. I think I did this. And so I arranged.
A long time.
Yeah, long time. And then so I arranged. And this was back, whenever I would come and I'd come into town or something. He always knew weeks in advance I was coming.
Right,
It was a thing.
of course.
We'd hang out.
Yeah, we get together.
So I don't tell him that I'm coming in town this time for, I had to take it for 6 months. I don't tell him I'm coming in town. I say the other guy, hey, I want to meet you. I want to go. And I funnel Scott into meeting at a Dunkin' Donuts. I'm like, I really like donuts. You guys have any donuts places? And Scott's like, oh, there's this Dunkin' Donut. Like I lead him to where we're going to go. I call he knows all the cars everyone has in my family. My sister-in-law has just bought a Suburban with
This
tinted
is
windows.
how far he went for the joke, guys. This is how far. A different car.
Different car. And the plan was, and I drive to this car and I'm sitting in this car with tinted windows, and Scott's going to meet this guy, this fan of his, this 50-year-old guy fan. And the original plan was I was going to get in the backseat of the car and start banging against the wall, screaming, like talking to myself, like, don't hurt him. Why would you hurt him? I was just going to be totally crazy. But I didn't do that because I figured he has to know. There's no way he has not put this together. He's got to know. Not only does he not know,
This is the best part right here. Oh,
I said, I'm going to be in the Suburban, come over to the Suburban and I'll get out and meet you. From whatever reason I gave why he would have to come and knock on the window. And I'm sitting in the car, I'm laughing. I'm just sitting in the car. Like anyone who pulls up next to me, just sees me sitting like this in the driver's seat. I'm laughing so hard I can't even do the bang window thing. I can't even talk. He walks up to the car. I get out. I'm laughing hysterically. I'm going to wet my pants. And he just goes, Steve, what are you doing here? And I go, I'm Philately 965, which is a stamp collector term. And he's like, how do you know that guy? He's supposed to be here. And I'm like, he is me. There is no he. I played a joke on you. I pretended to be him and I'm you. And he's going, no, he's coming. He's this guy. And I'm like, I am the guy. There is no guy pretending to be the. And I'm literally not getting through to him. He got his dog there. He's the whole deal. And finally, I'm like, 2 years ago, I created a fake online profile for Lately 55. I've been emailing you, pretending I've been someone else for the last 2 years. When he called and said this, that was me. When he did this, it was me. When he did this, it was me. I arranged to meet you at a Dunkin' Donuts. I borrowed my sister's car, and it's me. I'm the guy. He just looks at me, and then he hit me.
All right, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
I gotta take a bathroom break real quick though.
I peed twice.
All right, Steve. I got one word for you, Steve.
Yes.
Brazzinis.
That's funny. I just mentioned them
You
the
just
other day.
mentioned Brazzinis?
Somebody, yeah. I was talking about how we were talking about ethnic slurs and ones that we never heard. And I said, no, I never heard that term growing up. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. There was one person I heard used to call, what kind of asshole calls a 10-year-old Jewish child the K word? Excuse me again. Them.
Yeah, I know.
Those guys. Why did that make you?
Do you remember the Brazzinis?
I do. I remember us.
Do you remember what we did to the Brazzinis?
I remember egging their houses and them chasing us down and beating the crap out of
We
us.
teepeed the house.
Did we teepee? Wasn't eggs?
With teepees.
Toilet paper. My God, they didn't. And the kids beat our faces into the ground.
Well, they beat your face on the ground. I
Yeah, you got away.
you.
Yes, it was Paul,
Yeah.
me, and Scott was first.
Yep.
I was second, and Paul was third. They got Paul and threw him to the ground.
And then Steve's like, "Don't hurt my."
Yeah, hey! And then I look back, and Scott just running away.
And then they beat the shit out of Steve.
They beat the shit out of both of us. Yeah.
All right, Drew, we're gonna take a call here. We got Ian coming from Ohio. Ian,
Okay.
over there.
Before you take Ian's, I just have to say on the last story, now that's commitment.
It was commitment.
You heard
And
that story?
No. Talking the stamp
Oh yeah,
collector.
he fully committed to it. He fully committed to
By the
it.
way, Chad, we had it actually said 4 times in the show. We cut it down to 3 for the record.
Yeah.
We did pull
Drew
one
and I-
out.
Drew and I have gotten each other for you. We haven't done it
Okay.
in years though. We haven't maybe we're
No, because now we're in heart attack zone.
Ian, what's up, man? How you doing?
Good. Steven, how are you, man?
Good. How are you doing? Where are you calling from?
Good. I'm in Cleveland, Ohio.
All right.
I wasn't gonna call in, but I felt the need to. My father-in-law is a huge fan. I feel like I'd be missing an opportunity if I didn't call in and at least say hi. You know.
All right.
So I wanted to ask only because Scott brought it up before, and I think you mentioned it early in the show, and I was here and there doing stuff around the house. So I might have missed it. But how many times have you, as a writer on the show, used a name or something of somebody, like one of your friends or something in the show? Are you allowed to say that? You might not be allowed to say that, but
We
is it a common thing?
you can't use the full name. Certainly not anymore. And it's been a while since we have it.
Mine. Yeah, years ago. You used
I may have, but again, that was a coincidence. We've used first names. There's let me go this way. Plenty of times in ways that are legally safe and no one can be sued. A lot of the names for sure.
But you can't. You're not supposed to.
Yeah.
Anyway. You're not supposed to.
You can't use a first and last name together anymore. Or I could.
Did someone get sued? What happened? Why?
There was some lawsuits where someone did it vengefully. There was someone who they had an issue with and named a bad guy after this person, and that person got upset and sued. And it wasn't just a coincidence, and it was vengeful. So I heard, and the lawyers frown on such things. We tried not to. Everything you see, like Chad, your screen right now, we would our legal department would be circling little things to make sure we had clearance for everything. You want to respect people's intellectual property, and their name is their own, and so we try to do that now.
Yeah, some of the books that you can actually see the covers in the background
Our
might
thoughts.
not be allowed. Yeah.
Yeah. Or those are like at Gibbs House. All those books, a large percentage of those books are made up by our art department.
Oh, you're kidding? Really?
Yeah.
They're not real books.
Yeah, and any artwork you see now, anything.
Yeah, it's all morayed out. And
Yeah.
It's like it annoys me that they have to do it, but
It's that's what the legal team's there for, to make sure nothing. There's no hard and fast rules to any of this stuff. You just do we want to take the risk, or do we want to just not have to deal with this in post production, that suddenly we have to change something because we inadvertently used something we didn't have permission for. There's a whole department that handles this. It's a lot of fun. It sucks the life out of.
Wheels AZ says on sets I've worked on, wanted posters, trophies, and certificates on the walls are often crew members.
Yeah, and if you'll look in the squad room and the directory by the elevator, a lot of those names on there were crew members from season 1. And we'll do that as an inside joke, but we have to get releases now. I tried to name a restaurant. The last time I tried to do this was I tried to name a restaurant after my grandfather's defunct restaurant, Memories of China. I had Tony DiNozzo and Jean Benoit in season 4 having dinner in a restaurant, and it was Memories of China. And the legal team went through it, and they're like, "Nope, there was a restaurant in Chicago 4 years ago that used to."
No!
I'm like, "Oh, come on, he's dead. The restaurant's gone."
Wow, that stinks. That's no fun.
Yeah, that was a bummer. So now we're talking about season 4. So 13 years ago, it might have been the last time that I overtly did anything like that.
But when did you do me? When was that?
You mean, when did that coincidence happen?
When did the coincidence happen that you actually had to use my name as a corpse? Thank you.
It probably was, and for all we know, I spelled it in the script SCAHTBURKE. I would have done that. Even then, I would have done that. Or I would
phonetically correct, so I know that like they want to.
Or I would have spelled it like, to make sure it would clear. I would have spelled it like SCYTH, and I would have been like, it's pronounced Scott. BYEZZRN. I'd be like, and that's pronounced Burke.
And so when was that? Do you remember when it was?
It was a long time.
A long time. In fact, it was in a rerun recently, and I got a text from it. Like, dude, your name was. I'm like, yeah, years ago he did it.
It was pretty much a coincidence, as far as I can.
I understand. Yes.
I need to learn what that episode number was, so
it was a long time ago.
I can pull it up and just to see that.
Let's see.
Is there like a wiki somewhere, Drew?
Yeah, no, I could. Wait, hang on. As a matter of fact, hang on. Let me.
Are you going to do a Apple F on all your scripts?
Yeah, I'm just going to go into the PDF file and see. How was it? Family.
What?
It was episode 96. Family. It was the one where Tony DiNozzo has to choose between telling his. He was undercover, and he fell in love with his mark, and then she had that moment. Was that just real? Was that just you undercover, or was it real? And that's what the episode was.
It was his mark, or the father was the
mark.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Armand Asante played her father.
Yeah.
Supposedly, I'm a corpse in it.
Tony, any of them could have a score to settle. Problem is, they all have solid alibis for the day Heidi was killed, except this one. Tony hits remote control. On the plasma, a photo of Scott Burks appears, a major nerd in his 30s.
Thanks, dude.
Scott Burks filed a complaint over a pyramid scheme Heidi was running. Where does it say he was? He hasn't found it yet. Doesn't look like a score settler to me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks, Drew.
So yeah, that would have been season 4.
There you go.
Okay.
That total. It's funny. Sometimes you just change. You make names and you don't realize you're doing it.
Yeah, late at night. I get it. I understand completely.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. That for the first. It's funny. We'll have new writers come in and they'll do that too. They'll name. It's always their like best friend growing up or someone. And,
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
and then by the time our legal department gets to it, we're like, no, you can't. You can't do that. Although
Ian, anything else there?
No, I appreciate you coming on the show, man. It's cool to hear all this stuff tonight.
Yeah, tell your was it father-in-law? Or
yes, yeah. My wife's father, huge fan. Every time I'm at the house, he's always got it on. I think USA. I think has a lot of the old episodes.
Oh, it's on
there.
constantly. Yeah.
it's on constantly on USA. Well, tell him thanks for watching. I appreciate it.
Yeah, he's got it on constantly, so I'm always watching when I'm there. So, yeah, thanks for coming on, man.
Sure.
All right. Thanks, Ian. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, but get bye.
How do I get Ian's father-in-law a hat?
Get me a hat. I'll get it to him.
All right. Yeah. Email Scott an address.
Yeah. Email me an address. I'll get you.
I got Ian's address.
Oh, we have Ian's address. I'll
Yeah, I can
send you.
send it to Ian.
All right.
I'll send you
Perfect.
an address. There you go. Get him a hat. There you go.
I got a whole bunch.
What'd you say?
I got a whole bunch now.
What you, Scott Burke's 30-year-old nerd. Thanks.
Hey, I want a hat.
Wait, Craig wants it. Yeah, I got
Yeah, a hat. Like look under your chair. It's like
everybody.
Wow.
gets a hat.
that's impressive.
All right.
All poor
I
people.
don't think I have your address. I'll get it to Steve. He'll send you a hat.
Sure.
There you go.
Sweet.
So Drew, one more here.
Yeah.
It's something I just thought of recently because I was in the shower the other day, knowing I'm gonna be on the show. I'm like, oh, like trying to think of memories of you and me. Do you remember?
Thought of me in the shower.
Yeah, I usually do. Do you remember 8th grade? 8th
Pardon?
grade, Steve and I. It's there's the 8th grade talent show, and there you go. Steve and I had a juggling act in the 8th grade talent show. I think a couple years before that, me and Steve spent the summer learning how to juggle.
Yeah.
And then a couple years later, the talent show came up, and he's like, "Hey, let's juggle." So we put up this whole juggling act. It was really friggin' good. Remember, we had 2 apples and an egg, right?
Yeah. We ripped off. I think we ripped off someone's juggling act.
Oh, we totally did. Yeah. And so it was 2 apples and an egg, and so we're juggling and we're eating the apples as we're juggling. We're both doing that, okay? And then I can't remember how it ended, but it was like
We smashed eggs on each
we
other.
finished the apples. What are we going to do with the egg? And we looked at each other and smashed the eggs on each other's heads, and the place exploded. Okay, the place absolutely exploded, and we were like, "Thank you very much," like going.
Yeah.
And then we immediately left. Do you remember where we went, Steve?
Ohio.
We went to Ohio. We went from there with egg in our hair to the airport, got on a plane, and
Yeah, because we were like 12, so we just went like this.
and the reason was because his dad, Steve's dad, the guy, his awesome dad who, bongs and his dad took us to
Kings Island in
Kings
Cincinnati,
Island.
Ohio.
Cincinnati, Ohio.
For graduation, he said I could take a trip anywhere in the United States, and I wanted to go see one of the world's biggest roller coasters.
Remember, it went backwards that summer too. Remember that?
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, were you talking? Was it the Beast or?
The Beast.
Okay.
Yeah, the Beast. Yes, the Beast. Yes.
It was the Beast. And that-
I've been to Kings Island many times. So Scott probably didn't say this, but I grew up in Indianapolis.
Okay. All right. So that was your amusement park.
Oh yeah.
Scott, do you remember? This is when I realized my father might have had an eating disorder. When we went to Steak and Shake, he was so excited to go there.
Oh, there's a story on this. There's a story in Steak and Shake. So Steve and I are at his dad's house, the one with the bongs and the patchouli, and Steven and his dad's talking about Steak and Shake. And,
Yes.
and he's like, and we're like, what? He's like, Steak and Shake. We're like, what the hell is Steak and Shake? And what's your dad say? Get in the car. Drive 2 hours to where's Bradley? Where's Bradley University?
Peoria.
Peoria, Illinois. He drives us 2 hours to Peoria, Illinois to go to a Steak and Shake.
I do not remember this
You don't
story.
remember that? Your dad was like, get in the car right now.
Well, I've been.
car.
There's a lot of times he said get in the car, and we drove 2 to 5 hours to go eat somewhere.
You went from Ohio to Peoria, Illinois.
No, we went from Chicago to Peoria. We
Oh,
went to
okay.
Peoria.
Didn't have them.
Different.
We're literally
Okay.
just because some days Steve would be at his dad's house and I'd be over with Steve and
Yeah.
we would just be talking and his dad would be talking about something and he's just like, get in the car. Let's go. Get in the car.
Oh my God, I got to ask that. So what I remember was being in Cincinnati. He goes, you know how in restaurants there'll be like, this restaurant was founded in whatever,
Right.
Remember we go to the Steak and Shake. He's so excited, and I'm looking at the menu, and I start like reading the back, and it says founded in, and my dad goes like this, closes his eyes, and he puts it to his forehead so we can read it, and he starts telling me, he's like, founded in 1962. Steak and Shake was the brain product. He just starts reading off the menu of. There's one other one, a quick one I'll give you. So I guess like Marshall Fields or one of those clothing stores used to have like a diner you could go eat at.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure.
In the 40s though, but not like a high end one. I don't know. And my dad and stepmother are on a plane. They're going to Hawaii, and there's this gaggle of all these older women. They're like 80 years old. It's their first trip to Hawaii. They're all sitting together, and they stand up, and my dad's standing next to this woman, and he goes, you look really familiar. And she's like, oh, I don't know. And she's like, well, I've been working at whatever for the last 15 years. And he's like, no. And he's like, well, and then before that, I, worked wherever. And he's like, no. And they keep going on. He's like, no. And she goes, well, in 1952, when my dad was 11, she goes, I used to work at the Marshall Fields deli counter. And my dad goes, Helen? And she goes, you remember? Helen? Yeah. Because he looked at the name tag. Yeah.
So, all right.
So he had an eating problem.
Jude, do you remember? Okay, this is going so long, but this is one more good story because I have so many. We have 10,000 stories, Drew and I.
I had like a 50-minute speech at your wedding, I think.
Oh God, he had the greatest speech at my wedding too. Yeah. So, we're seniors in high school, okay? And Steve, you're not gonna remember this because you don't remember it. So we're seniors in high school, and Steve has got, I believe it's SoCo, a flask of SoCo or a flask of Jack Daniels. I don't remember, but Steve drinks the whole thing. And cut to,
not a drinker.
So we're going to a party. Cut to, okay, me driving on the way to the party. Steve has got half his body out the back window, right? So he's literally like this. And he's out the back window screaming, "This is the greatest night of my life!"
That is the only part of the evening I remember. I remember that.
Right? Okay. So
I was a happy drunk.
So we're at the party. Okay, we're at the party, and I caught, and we're trying to pay attention to Steve because Steve is just totally shit faced, lack of a better term, and so. I out of the corner of my eye, I see Steve flirting with a girl, or talking to a girl. I should say flirting. He's pissed drunk, and all of a sudden, her boyfriend walks up to him. He's like, "What are you doing?" And Steve says, "Nothing." And her boyfriend literally just goes, "Boom!" Just headbutts Steve, and Steve literally like a cartoon goes.
Boink.
Yeah, it was Darren Carlson that headbutted me. I don't have any memory of any of this.
So we
I heard
literally
about it the next day.
we drag Steve out onto the front lawn and leave him there and go back to the party because he's fine, right? And then when we're done with the party, we pick Steve up, we put him in the car, and we have more people in the car now. So we put Steve,
Footrest. So I heard.
Steve on the floor of the back seat, and people have their feet on Steve, like Steve.
Jeez.
Oh God, so many. Oh God.
I hope no one ever does that to my children.
Yeah, but Steve wasn't a huge drinker. I mean, he didn't drink very often.
Oh, if I was a drinker, I would have known not to drink that much.
Yeah. Oh wait, we got a caller in here. I got a caller. Hold on. I think I do. Yeah, we do. Here we go. Let's see who it is. It's an 847. Hello. How are you?
Scott,
Yes.
it's Barbara.
Oh my God, is that your mother on the phone, Drew?
Wait a minute.
You guys get so old.
Guys, this is Steve's mother on the phone.
Hi, Mom.
Barb, turn your computer down, please.
The real question is, how did they live to get this old?
Yeah, that's a good question too.
So, guys, just for the absolute record, prom night, Barb is doing shots with us in the kitchen. So Barb ain't no angel either. To see you.
Right. And now her boyfriend
You're as
wasn't.
old as I was then.
Yeah, I know. Absolutely, yeah.
Now her boyfriend wasn't doing shots with us because I believe he was handcuffed to the bed and you forgot about him.
Yes, I did. That was the guy I was dating.
Barb, for the record, guys, also Barb always had the best weed. Always had the best weed. God bless you, Barb.
She didn't give it to us though.
Chad.
We just stole it.
Right?
She wants to know if Chad is Chad Kalabik.
That is not Chad
That's
Calvin.
No.
Chad. God, when did you guys all get so old?
We grew up. I don't know. What do you want to tell you?
I don't know, I just saw you 6 months ago.
That's debatable. Have a good
and-
time, guys. Enjoying watching you. Stay healthy.
Thank you, Barb. We'll see you soon.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ian Executive story editor is not. It is a fancy title. When you start on a show, you're a staff writer. Next level up is story editor, then executive story editor. Then you become a co-producer, then a producer, then a supervising producer, then a co-executive producer, and then an executive producer. And that'll never happen all on one show because most shows don't last more than 2-3 years. So
Oh my god.
not that fancy.
So yeah, Barb always had the best weed and the best porn too. Barb always had good porn too.
Yeah.
Steve's parents. I have one memory of Steve's parents being married. Just one, literally just one memory. And it's a faint memory because they separate.
Let's see if it matches up with my one memory of them being married. You go first.
When did they get divorced?
That's my memory.
Of them
They told me.
getting
No, I was told they were getting divorced, and I was like, "Oh, that's the only
Oh,
memory."
I just remember, I just remember, your dad. Maybe there weren't even maybe your dad being there in that house, the house your mom still owns, like once, and that was it.
Yeah.
He
He was,
got married pretty quick. I mean, your stepmom was with him forever.
yeah, I met her. I was 8, and she was 12 years younger than my father, which seemed like a lot back then.
So
and
Barb was. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, when I met her, she denies it. She's like smoking cigarettes, and I had never had any candy in my house growing up. It was all the healthy food Scott hated. And
That was my house. Yeah.
his house was like the nirvana of candy. And I'm at my dad's house, and my stepmom's got some coffee cake, which is gross, but it's the closest thing I'll ever get to anything with sugar, unless I'm at Scott's house. And I remember just staring at the coffee cake, and she like looked down on me with this cigarette smoke and a lot of makeup in the 80s. And she's like, "You want some coffee cake, kid? You don't put hair in your chest."
Oh, jeez.
To this day, like, I wish I didn't have all that coffee cake.
Yeah. What your mom used to have the picnics? What was those little potato things I always eat at your house?
Yeah, but that was later.
Oh, was
She
that
would-
later?
Yeah, that was never when I was a kid. She never had anything.
Your house sucked for food. Yeah.
I mean, I thank her for it now, but
But his mom, but like Barb was never remarried, so Barb was always a single mom. So everybody a lot of things revolved around Steve's house because Steve had he had a big backyard with a pool and all that, and his mom
and lack of supervision.
his mom didn't care what we did.
But we were good.
Oh yeah, I guess most.
We weren't stealing her weed and liquor and throwing up uncontrollably and hanging halfway out of the car without a seatbelt on and being left on the lawn. It was choir and the chess club. All the other things.
Oh yes, the good old days. Yes. All right. And one last thing, one memory I have that's I love this memory is that from I guess probably from the time we met, or maybe like for probably about a 3 to 4 year period, probably from like third grade to 6th grade or even 7th grade. Every Saturday, Steve would go out to a movie and lunch with his grandma. And so finally, Steve's like, "Dude, come with me, please." So for years,
I did that till I was like 18.
I would go with Steve every Saturday. Every Saturday, he'd pick me up around like 11.
Like 11 to 11:30.
And
Lunch in the movie.
And it's funny because me and Steve used to take his grandmother to the worst movies because we'd see a movie every weekend. So we run out of
All of us.
I mean, we saw anywhere from probably 80 to 85 or 84. Every single movie I saw with your grandmother was.
Oh yeah, no, I saw. I remember one time there was no new movies out. We saw Time Bandits 3 weekends in a row.
Oh god.
I remember watching Mausoleum with her, and she's sitting next to me, gagging at the dead body. She's like, my grandma's like, oh, which is weird because that's where she's buried now. So when I go visit her, I'm just like, gosh, I hope she's not gagging in there. That would be awkward.
Yeah, so we saw every movie with your grandmother. God bless her.
And even like my kids now, they don't want to see people kissing when I'm sitting next to them. But try sitting next to your grandmother
We
during
saw
risky
so much
business.
stuff that was so not appropriate because we had an adult with us, so we took her to she took us to
Everything.
everything. We saw everything, whatever we wanted to. She'd take us to.
Yes.
Fantastic. And we'd go to some deli. Do you remember what deli we went to?
Yeah. Was it Langer's or was that's here? No, Ada's Deli
Ada's Deli.
in that mall off Lake Cook.
Yes.
I did watch Wrath of Khan with my grandmother the first time, and then Scott and I watched it again standing in a video store once. Remember that?
Yes, I do.
We walked into a video store had it running on a TV, and they had free popcorn, and we literally stood in front of the television and ate popcorn, and we watched Wrath of Khan.
Oh man.
Yeah. That was right next door to the store where that guy who looked like Pete Brady worked, who was a year older than us. And you walked in one day and you went, Pete! And you could tell this guy had just gotten it his whole life because he's like, no, I am not Pete Brady. Can I help you?
Like, oh, Pete.
Yeah. And then he ended up in my fraternity in college. Like 10 years later.
Really?
Yeah. I'm going to go look him up on Facebook right now and see if he still looks like Pete Brady.
Yeah, because we can share the screen. You can share the screen. It still looks like Pete Brady.
Well, let's see. See if my kids. Yeah, there he is. Hang on.
Pete Brady?
Hang on.
Yeah, he still looks like Pete Brady.
A little bit. He looks good.
He says
He
someone says 16 Candles, Breakfast Club. Yeah, we definitely saw Breakfast Club with your grandmother. I remember that. 16 Candles, I'm sure we saw with your grandmother.
Yes, I saw Fast Times with my dad though.
Fast Times was 82 or 80, 81 even. No, that one, but definitely 16 Candles, definitely Breakfast Club.
Oh yeah, all of them.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, so
Yeah,
Your
16
grandmother.
Candles was
she's
that
dead,
the one?
right? Your grandma cannot still be alive. She must be dead.
She died at 96, like 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
So yeah, she's in a mausoleum.
So who was left? Your grandfather? Was he the last one left alive?
No, the last one was my mom's mom, who just died last year at 102.
Oh,
Wow.
So they live long in my family. So I'm stuck here on this mortal plane with you guys for a long time.
all right, Drew. All right, Steve. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, no, happy to do it. And as geocaching says, if you had a drink for every time you said one last thing, you'd be on the front lawn too.
So thank you so much for coming on the show.
I'm happy to do it as long as Jesse doesn't talk so much next time.
Wait, I have to do one thing.
What do you have to do?
I promised last week.
Okay,
Do you remember, Scott?
I do not remember what
The song.
the song. I still don't. Chad, you know what you're talking about?
It's got to be 99 red balloons
No. Hold on. Wait. Okay, here you go. Here's the song.
from It's a Small World.
Oh, wait.
What the hell?
Okay, here you go.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what this is.
The Ducky song.
Yep.
The Ducky song?
Alle meine Entchen schwimmen auf dem See, Köpfchen in das Wasser,
See,
All I hear is a Nazi song.
I hear some Nazi song too. Do you hear that? All I hear is some Tarantino.
The chat room remembers. There you go, guys. That was a song from my childhood that I tried to sing to Scott, and he looked at me like I was crazy.
Dude, that just gives me spilks.
Don't sing Nazi songs to. Oh, by the way, I got one. I get one on the sign up. Now we're talking about Nazi songs. So, do you remember? You remember Rita, my girlfriend in college?
Rita? Yes, I remember Rita.
She's Norwegian, so she looked Aryan, completely Aryan.
Yes, she
And we go to see Schindler's List at Century City, and we're late, and we have to sit in the front row. And we walk in, and it's opening night, and the place is filled with rabbis and Hasidic Jews. Like
Right.
it's a super ethnic crowd, and we're late, and we sit down, and it's the scene where Liam Neeson is in a club, and they're singing this German drinking song or whatever. And we sit down, and she looks at me, and she spoke German and a whole bunch of other languages, and she knows the song, and probably didn't know about the Holocaust at all, not because she was a denier, just because who pays attention? She didn't pay attention in school. And so she looks at me, and she starts going, "Ein, zwei, nacken, Juden, killen, Bösen, Balkan." And she starts singing, and I go like this.
Oh boy.
And I put my hand over. I go, "What are you doing?" And I look back, and they are all the hats are looking at us now because who would do this? Who would sit in the front of Schindler's List and start singing along with the Nazis? And I go, "Rita, what are you doing?" She's like, "What?" I said, "You're singing the Nazi song." And she goes, No, it's just a German drinking song. I said, "It's a Nazi song." Said, No, it's just a regular German. I said, "It's a Nazi song now, okay?"
Oh boy.
That was Rita. And after the whole time, I am going to get. I'm just I just kept waiting for something to come over my neck and just. some guy's got a talus and he's just choking me out, and they're winding the stick around it. The talus is getting tighter and tighter on me.
Oh,
So
I am
Rita-
Jewish, for the record.
Rita
So-
was Miss Norway, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Rita was Miss Norway, Chad. We had so much fun with Rita. We and Steve. He'd bring her here, and she was, God bless her, hot as God. Okay.
Yeah, I dated up.
Miss Norway. Yeah.
Yeah.
Norwegian
Norway,
goddess. Okay.
Miss Norway, dude. And
And by the way, there was only one girl in my grade in film school. It was her. So I really scored.
so she knew 6-7 languages, right?
You know a lot. Yeah. But she counted like Swedish and Norwegian.
That's
Separate.
the dumbest person I ever met in my entire life.
No comment.
I mean, Chad, dumb as a rock.
No, she was funny.
She was what?
I really regret sending her a link for this, by the way, now.
Oh my
Well,
So meanwhile, so Steve is overseas during 9/11.
mhm.
Not?
That was a different
That was a different-
area.
Oh, that was a different girl. So Steve is out of the country. Where were you?
I was in Switzerland.
Steve is in Switzerland for 9/11, and he finally gets a hold of me. He calls me about a day later. Okay, he calls me. We hadn't talked, and I'm like, dude, what's going on? He's like, I'm in Switzerland. I'm like, what the hell are you doing in Switzerland? He's like, I'm with my girlfriend, and I'm in Switzerland, and I can't get back.
Yeah.
Like, and then what?
Yeah.
And then what did you say?
Was this where you were worried I was okay? And I said, I'm in Switzerland. There hasn't been a war here in 600 years. You're in trouble.
And then he goes, the problem is they're all happy it happened.
There were some people who seemed a little happy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Steve is the only American there, and everyone else is happy.
But I was there because my girlfriend's family lived in Switzerland, and we had a wedding in France, and so we drove across France to. They were not happy. I remember walking into to get a radio from some guy, and he was like, I bought the radio, and then I forgot. I was like, oh, I got to get headphones. And he's like, just take it. And I was like, and then I had to go back in to get batteries. Buy batteries. He's like, just take it. And I was like, but he also could have been, I don't know, I don't speak French. He could have been, just get out of my face, you American pig, before I fly a plane into you. Now they were very. It's a wedding though. You're at a wedding, and,
Right.
It's
During 9/11.
Yeah, it's a little awkward.
Yeah.
And then of course, I calm down because I'm not going to go in the car with 8 people crying like a child. And I calm down and I turn the radio on, and I hear Imagine playing on one of the stations. And then I change to another station, and it's also Imagine. And then I change another station, and it's also Imagine. And then I realize what's happening right now, which is that they're all playing simultaneously. Every radio station is playing Imagine at the same time in honor, and then like, it's really, you're like, imagine all the people. Yeah, just kept
Right.
like, oh, that's mass media. The show must always go on, but they'd stop the
You
show.
were stuck there for a while too. You couldn't get back.
Yeah, I was there for a little while, and then I remember I came back, and it was like flying into LAX was like a refugee situation. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So,
It was crazy.
that story with the Nazi there kind of reminds me of the first time I was leaving Israel. Getting into Israel was pretty easy. Leaving Israel, so my passport, says where I was born, which was Berlin, Germany. I've got blonde hair, blue eyes, and they just grilled the living shit out of me for 3 hours on the exit interview. And everything, going through all my stuff, asking me questions, and then the trade off to another person, ask me the same damn questions, compare notes, and then I've got a bunch of technical. I'm an engineer, so I got a bunch of technical documentation and stuff in my belongings, and they're quizzing me on all this stuff. And it's like, I worked for Texas Instruments at the time. We purchased a company in Israel, so that's why I was spending a lot of time there. And they're quizzing me on this stuff that I'm just learning about. And it's like, I don't know what DOCSIS stands for. Now I know it's Data Over Cable System Integration Specification.
But they weren't really, they were just trying to distract you while they put bugs in all your media devices.
That probably true. But, it's like, I'm starting to sweat at, this point and thinking, it's like, do they think I'm a Nazi? It's like I was born on an American army base in Berlin, Germany. It's like, I am not a Nazi.
Right. Tell that to the judge. I have, by the way, just so you know, I have 2% power on this laptop.
All right.
Ooh.
That's why I've turned my brightness down, because I'm gonna.
So real quickly before we go, why don't you pimp yourself out? Tell us where we can find you on social media if need be.
Oh, I have an Instagram account at Stephen D. Binder.
And is that where all your pictures are of all the stars and the people you've been with?
I only posted a couple up there. Mike Farrell, I'm excited about, and Dr. Chang from Lost. That was pretty exciting. And then Twitter, it's Steve Binder. Not to confuse you, I have different names.
It's at Steve Binder.
At Steve Binder, yeah.
No, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go, guys. You want to follow Steve Binder on? There you go, and he's verified. He's one of the my only friend who's verified.
I got to get verified on Instagram. I got to get.
How are you not? And how are you not verified on Instagram?
It doesn't. I couldn't even get into Raya. I don't rank. So.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We hope we gave you a good night tonight. A little laugh.
Yep. Bye, Mom.
And guys, we'll see you guys Wednesday for the geocaching podcast. Be sure to tune in. And next Saturday, every Saturday until this quarantine is over, we'll be coming at you live every Saturday night just to give you some fun. So hope to see you there again. And that's about it, guys. We'll talk to you guys on Wednesday. So be good, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Bye. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Chad.
Bye.
Bye.